Welcome to today's chat on microplastic with Julia Zilla, APPLiA's Manager for Environmental and Energy Policies. To set the scene for discussion, Julia, what is referred to when we speak about microplastics?
There are now lengthy discussions worldwide to try to define this concept. What it is generally accepted is that microplastic are small particles of plastic material, usually below 5 millimeters, that originate from a different number of sources.
What are the main then identified sources of microplastic?
Primary microplastic, also known as intentionally added microplastic, are designed and manufactured as small particles on purpose. And this can be found in medicine and body care products, such as toothpaste and other body scrubs, but also in paint, composite material, manufacturing, and other industrial products. Secondary microplastic, which is also known as unintentional release of microplastic, are derived from fragmentation and weathering of larger plastic debris. The fragmentation is usually due from different factors, such as UV radiation, mechanical aberration, and other biological degradation into the environment. An example of these sources can be textile, tires, pellets, and cigarettes, for instance. These particles accumulate in a shape of fibers, beads, pellets, or powder. So there is a lot of clarity on the sources of microplastic, but what is still a matter of discussion is the amount of this plastic into the environment.
How is, Julia, the home appliance industry involved?
Microplastic pollution is a global challenge, so across different sectors and industry. In particular, in the last years, washing machines have been under the radar of different media, as the release of synthetic plastics could come from the washing of our clothes in the washing machine. Therefore, as a sectors, we wanted to contribute to understanding the magnitude of the problem, and also we are committed to trying to solve the release of microplastic in our appliances.
Now that you speak about global challenges, how is exactly our sector involved into these global challenges?
As I said, APPLiA as a sector and the household appliance sector as such is really committed to contribute to solve the issue. So in the last years, APPLiA has been involved in many different projects. First of all, we have launched and commissioned a literature review on the release of microplastic from textile laundry to try to understand and assess the magnitude of the problem. The objective of the literature review was to compare the existing data to try to understand what was the common pattern that was present in the different studies. Also, on top of that, we are also coordinators of a newly consortium on microplastic released from household washing cycles. The idea is to try to come together and to develop the standardized methodology that can help understanding and assess the release of microplastic during a normal washing cycle.
And if we look at the legislation point of view, what is it the current state of the art there?
There are different legislative proposals that are not only taking place in Europe but also worldwide. An example is that ongoing discussion is taking place in Australia, in Canada, and also in the USA. But the only already in place regulation is to be found in France, where they have adopted an article that require washing machine to be equipped with a microplastic filter or any other solution by January 2025. Also in Europe, following this article, there are similar discussion taking place also in the UK, where a similar recommendation was part of a report that was released recently, and also in Luxembourg, where there is a draft legislation on waste, which contains this draft article that would require washing machine to be equipped with a filter by 2025.
How would these initiatives reflect at European Union level then?
Our sector is extremely worried about these national initiatives that are taking place in Europe. Not only this will hamper the free movement of goods within the EU single market, make it very complex for manufacturers to place a washing machine in the internal market, but also will come with consequences for manufacturers and consumers without really knowing the environmental potential benefit coming from these measures. This is why we welcome very much the European proposal on microplastic pollution, which is trying to gather knowledge and expert at the European level to try to assess what it is the most cost-effective solution to mitigate or to solve the issue of microplastic.
Julia, let's leave up with a final wrap-up sentence.
For APPLiA, it's extremely important that member states comes together at the European level to discuss the best measure to mitigate the microplastic release. It is of utmost importance that we come together at European level, not at the national level, to try to solve a challenge that is actually global and not only a national one. Finally, we also invite policymakers to assess upstream policies based on a life cycle approach, which will help to identify what it is the most effective solution to mitigate, to tackle the release of microplastic into the environment.
Thank you, Julia.
Thanks to you, Paolo.